Are you a K-5 teacher who is tired of spending your nights and weekends focused on school instead of what matters most? Are you tired of missing out on family dinners or missing out on time with your kids or just having time to focus on yourself? So many teachers struggle with finding that teacher work-life balance. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you some tips to make your teacher life easier and find that balance so you can finally focus on what matters. Stay tuned. What's kicking, educational rock stars? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Farah from Farah Henley Education, where I strive to bring you actionable tips, strategies, and simple systems to take back into your classroom to make your teacher life a little easier and give you bigger impact in your students' learning. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you get notified when I go live or upload a new video here on the channel. Today, I'm going to share with you some tips on making sure that you find a balance between your teacher life and being in the classroom and your home life, whether that's with a family or a significant other, or if it's just taking care of yourself. There are some things that you can do to make sure that you find a semblance of teacher work-life balance. I want you to take a step back and I want you to remember why you became a teacher in the first place. I know it sounds like a weird place to start, but I want you to think about why you became a teacher in the first place. You became a teacher to help your students grow and learn, not just as scholars, but also as human beings. And the thing about it is, we don't set a great example of that when it comes to our teacher work life. We overwork ourselves. We spend long hours practically living in our classrooms. How many of you have ever had a student ask you if you lived at the school? That's probably because they not only do they see you there, that's like maybe the only place they ever see you, but because they always see your car there or you're there super early. There's never a time that they are at school that you're not there, other than the occasional time that you might have to take a mental health day or you're out sick. But the fact is teachers all over the world let being a teacher become their identity, and it completely takes over your life. I was so guilty of this. I was guilty of spending hours upon hours, staying late, sometimes into like 10, 11 o'clock at night in my classroom. And it's not healthy. It's absolutely not healthy for you to do that. And there are some things that I want to share with you today on how you can kind of take a step back and you can rethink some things when it comes to that teacher work-life balance. Now, the first part of this, I'm going to talk about how you can find some balance at work, how you can kind of get your work life kind of in order so that you're not constantly just focused on what's going on in your classroom. That is very, very important. Don't get me wrong. That's the whole reason we have a job, right? You gotta do your job in your classroom. But there's some other things that you can do to just kind of balance out things at work. And then the second part of this, I'm going to talk about how you can take care of yourself outside of the classroom. And these are just some tips. You're going to take away from this what is going to work for you, and you're going to find your own way to do these things. The first place we're going to start is work. Okay, listen, we've all got jobs to do, and we all have to make sure our students have growth and our students make it from point A to point B. And we make sure that we take care of what we're supposed to be doing in our classroom, because that's why we have our jobs. But at work, it doesn't have to be all work. And there are some things that you can do to make it a little bit more enjoyable. One of those things that I want to talk to you about is something called the I'm going to mess this up, the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle basically says that 80% of your results come from only 20% of your work. So when we think about that and we think about how we work in our classrooms and how we lesson plan or how we organize our classroom, we spend so many hours on this stuff, and we spend countless nights and weekends taking care of this stuff, realizing that only about 20% of that work we're doing is actually getting us the results that we need. And so when we start to think about it from that perspective, we realize maybe we don't need to spend all that time on these things. Maybe we need to do what I like to call work smarter, not harder. Now, I didn't coin that phrase, but we've all heard it. But work smarter, not harder. That means finding systems that are simple to put in place, finding systems that are going to be easy for you to keep up with, and not complicating something that's working. If something is already working, just because you saw that fancy system on Pinterest that you think, oh man, I could do this in my classroom instead of what I'm already doing. If what you're already doing is working, stop worrying about it. You don't have to have the big fancy system just because somebody slapped some clip art on it. If what you're doing is working, keep using it. Don't stress yourself out. There's so many other things that you could be focusing on. How many of you have actually spent way too much time on Pinterest and chasing the shining object? Am I the only one? Because I can tell you that there were so many times that I would have a system. Maybe it's just a system for how my kids store their items in their desk. Maybe it's a system for how they turn papers in. And I would get onto Pinterest and I would go down a rabbit hole. What I had was working, but I would go down a rabbit hole because it didn't look cute. It wasn't going to be a cute picture. It wasn't going to be fabulous for me to share on Instagram. It doesn't have to be all of that stuff. Am I the only one that does that or did that? Am I the only one that ended up down rabbit holes? And I would spend an entire weekend putting together a new system for something that was already working, and there was no reason to do that. The next tip that I want to share with work balance, is you need to develop those work friends. Now, I don't know about you, but I always had my teacher besties that were somewhere in the building. They were usually my team teacher. They might even be a teacher on my team. They might be a teacher from another grade level, but you need to have those work relationships that they're going to get you. They're going to get what you're dealing with, and they're going to understand what you're going through. Now, this can be tricky because I know, and I've experienced it, where I needed somebody to talk to. You kind of become each other's therapists for things that are going on in your classrooms, and it's a safe place to talk about. And we have to be careful for student privacy reasons, especially if you're talking to a teacher who doesn't actually have that student for any educational purposes. But we need that person that is going to get us, that's going to be that person that is going to understand our frustrations, and you can be that for them as well. So developing those relationships. I know way too many teachers who they go to work, they do their job, they go home. And listen, I get it because I stay out of the teacher lounge as well. The teacher lounge can be a toxic place, but you can find, and you need to find, at least one other person that's in your building that knows the whole situation that you can kind of become friends with. Now, you may not be friends outside of the classroom. That's perfectly fine, or outside of your school building. Most of the time when I had those teacher friends, we did become friends outside of the classroom. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. But having that work relationship where you get her or him, and they get you, and they kind of know the situation and what's going on, is going to help, because then you have a place to talk about things and not bring it home to your spouse or to your family. Because I don't know about you, but there have been plenty of times that I walked through the door at the end of the day and I just needed to unload what had happened for the day, and my husband didn't want to hear it. Or it wasn't that he didn't want to hear it. It usually was he didn't get it, or he didn't see it from my perspective, because he didn't truly understand everything and the stress that went along with it. So the third thing I want to share with you about work is invest in your own development. I don't know about you, and I keep saying that, but me, is it just me? Because this happened, it can't just be me. I never seemed to get everything that I needed with regard to training or anything like that from the professional development that my schools provided. It never seemed to happen. I always had to look elsewhere for professional development. Now, that professional development can come in the form of virtual online classes. It can come in the form of going and watching another teacher at another school and maybe doing observations. It can come in the form of actually going to conferences. There's so many other reasons other than just the development, the professional development you're going to be getting. There are so many other reasons to get out there and connect with other teachers and go to these conferences. And, maybe you find your teacher bestie that is a teacher that's not even in your school. And maybe you meet them at one of these conferences. But oftentimes we have to invest in our own teacher development. Now, I know teachers are not paid well. Listen, I get it. We're all underpaid and undervalued. But sometimes we've got to dig in our pockets. We've got to figure out, maybe we don't get that Starbucks drink on the way to work every day for a month, whatever it is that you give up for a short period of time so that you can put together the funds to be able to invest in your own development. Here's the thing. The other thing that I have figured out is, or that I discovered, is that I often got more out of professional development that I myself invested in versus professional development that my school provided. One, I could choose what I knew I needed to work on. Therefore, I was going to pay attention because it was something I actually needed help with. Two, I invested my own money into it. Therefore, I wanted to get as much out of it as possible. So this is the third tip, is to invest in your own professional development. Now, tip number four, your work environment. Celebrate your accomplishments. So many times I see teachers that don't celebrate their accomplishments. They don't get recognition for them. Maybe I don't know how many times something happened and I always felt like I wanted my principal so bad to come in and to see what I was doing, or somebody to come in and see what I was doing and to, give me a pat on the back, just something, just a, hey, you're doing a good job, when it didn't happen because I had worked and worked so hard to make this great lesson. But you know what? Celebrate your own accomplishments. Make sure that you have, again, this goes back to that teacher bestie. Make sure you have somebody that you can share your wins with. And you know what? Even if you don't share a win, or maybe they don't get it, maybe you busted your tail to put together this fabulous lesson plan. And you know what? It went off and it was fabulous. It was great. And the kids loved it. Celebrate. Stop at Sonic. Grab your favorite drink. Stop and get your favorite ice cream. Whatever it is you want to celebrate, take a moment to celebrate your accomplishments. Oftentimes, teachers do not get appreciated, and then there's usually only one teacher of the year. Here's a newsflash for you. You are all teacher of the year. Every single one of you is the teacher of the year, because you are the teacher of the year for those students that were in your classroom. So whether you get a trophy or a plaque or a certificate, or you get that handshake, that pat on the back, or that gift card from your principal or your school district because you won this title, Teacher of the Year. No, absolutely not. Celebrate your accomplishments along the way and make sure that you take time to really take in that win, because you put a lot of heart and soul into that, and you deserve to be celebrated, even if you're having to celebrate yourself. Now, here's where we're going to get into some things that I think a lot of teachers struggle with. And that's when we start talking about how to balance our life outside of being a teacher. I don't know if you knew this, but being a teacher is your job. Now, I'm not taking away from the fact that all teachers, it's ingrained in our being. Most of us, or a lot of us, knew that we wanted to be teachers from a very young age, but I didn't. So I became a teacher after it was kind of a second career for me. And so I was totally shocked when teaching became my identity. Now, I won't lie. Teaching is still kind of my identity now because I'm teaching teachers now. But for that 20 plus years that I was in the classroom, teaching was my identity. When people said, "What do you do?" I'm a teacher. When I had conversations, it always led back to what was going on in my teacher life. In fact, I had a very, very hard time making friends outside of work or outside of teacher profession. Like, all of my friends were teachers. I did not have friends that weren't teachers because nobody got me. Nobody understood my sense of humor. Nobody understood my struggles. Nobody understood why I was tired. Teaching became my identity. It became who I was. But here's what happened. A lot of times I would have, of course, my husband was not a teacher, so he did not understand a lot of things that I was talking about. He understood enough, but he didn't really get it because that wasn't his profession. It wasn't his passion. And just like I didn't really get his passion for his profession. But we had couple friends where they weren't teachers. And usually it was because my husband was friends with them from work, and they were the same profession as my husband. And then I would be, hanging out with their wives. And the fact is, I talked about teaching a lot. Is it just me? Was it just me? I talked about teaching a lot. So it really started to kind of take a toll, because they were either stay-at-home moms, or they had other professions outside of teaching, and they didn't get some of the stuff I was talking about. They didn't understand it. And especially if they were parents, because that gets tricky sometimes when you're trying to have talks about things that are going on at school, but you're speaking to somebody who's not a teacher, they're a parent, and not necessarily one of your parents. I'm just talking about a parent with school age kids, because then it starts their wheels turning about things that are going on in their school, because you're talking about things that are going on in yours. So it can just really get sticky. But I digress a little bit. It becomes really hard to separate your work and your personal life. You are a teacher, but it is not everything about who you are. It is just a part of who you are and your personality. So you have to set boundaries. And that's key number one to balancing out your life. Set boundaries. For me, it became when we hung out with certain couple friends, I didn't talk about teaching. I didn't talk about, they knew I was a teacher. They knew that's what I did. They knew even when I started coaching and I started running a business, they knew that's what I did. But I had to not talk about teaching and what was going on in my classroom. And that was something that I decided to stop doing. I just stopped talking about it. We found other things to talk about. We talked about movies. We talked about sports. We talked about books that we'd read. I started finding things. These were not necessarily people that I hung out with all the time, because it was my husband who was friends with them. But I stopped talking about teaching all the time, because I needed to figure out how to separate that work and personal life. And I needed to figure out a balance, because once I did that, I saw my stress level go down. Because here's the thing. If you go to work, everything's happening at work. It's who you are. You're living it all day. And then you leave, you go have dinner with friends, and then you sit and talk about it all night. You have just lived that stress all day, as opposed to putting it down and letting it go for even a few hours. So you have to find that balance. You have to figure out how you're going to take off that teacher hat and when you're going to put it back on. And you've got to learn to leave things at school and not bring them home. Tip number 2 for your life outside the classroom. Get a hobby. Let me say that a little louder for the people in the back. Get a hobby. Listen, getting a hobby made all the difference in the world when it came to being able to take that teacher hat off and leave it and stop thinking about being a teacher. Now, my first hobby, not going to lie, my very first hobby that I decided to put in place was when I started my Teachers Pay Teachers store. Anybody see a problem with that? The only one that sees a problem with that? That was my first hobby, and I decided that was going to be my downtime. That was going to be my brain break. I was going to use that to decompress from school. But here's the reality. It's still related to teaching, so I didn't. I worried. When I was writing curriculum, when I was creating activities, when I was doing all of this stuff, I was still thinking about teaching. It wasn't a true hobby. So find yourself a hobby. Maybe you like to craft. Maybe you like to read. Maybe you like to go on long walks or go on hikes. That's a good one, because then you're going to get your exercise in too. Whatever it is, find a hobby. Maybe you just like going to the movies. So, hey, have you ever gone to the movie by yourself on a Saturday afternoon? Just me? That was my that became a hobby of mine, to go see movies that I probably never would have seen. Find a hobby, whatever it is, but find that hobby so that you can take that teacher hat off and you can take a break. Now, tip number 3 for work. Schedule time to do absolutely nothing. Yes, you heard me right. Schedule time to do absolutely nothing. Find time to do nothing. It is very hard for me to just sit and watch TV. It's very, very hard, because the whole time I'm thinking about the millions of things that I should be doing. It's very hard. But the fact is, and statistics have proven, and science has proven, and Google it, you'll find it, that when you give your brain a chance to do absolutely nothing, your brain heals itself. It can help with stress. It can help with anxiety. It can help with a myriad of other mental, just things that we deal with as teachers. Give yourself a chance to do nothing. And this doesn't necessarily mean sleep. I mean literally do nothing. Like I said, go to the movies by yourself in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday. I tell you, it's the most fabulous thing in the world. But find time to just do nothing. There's no agenda. There's nothing you have to get done. Nothing. Find time to do nothing. This fourth tip for balancing your personal life, I'm going to be honest, this is really, really hard for me as well. You got to get some sleep. You got to get some sleep. Now, I'm going to share with you some tips and these tips are coming from an insomniac. Let me just tell you, first of all, one, I'm a night owl. Two, I have a hard time falling asleep. So I don't like to take anything to help me go to sleep, but if you need that, talk to your doctor. I'm not a doctor, not a medical professional, so obviously talk to your doctor if you need something to help you fall asleep. But there are some things that I have found that help me be able to get to sleep at night. One, I have a timer set on my phone. I have a timer set on my phone that goes off that says your bedtime is coming. It's time to wind down. Now, I'm not the greatest at listening to it when it tells me that, but at least it's a reminder so that when I'm in the middle of something, whatever it is, if I'm playing a game which let's be real, I don't get a lot of time to play games, but I tend to work at night. And so I do a lot of my work at night. And as teachers, you're probably doing a lot of your lesson planning at night. I set that alarm because when it goes off, it lets me know, hey, I've got about an hour before I'm supposed to actually go physically put my body in that bed. So I need to start winding down. Now, it gives me a chance to kind of wrap up whatever I'm doing and get started on my nightly routine. I recommend you have a nightly routine. Whether it's going to wash your face, then brush your teeth, maybe you take a shower before you go to bed. I always had to do that right when I came home from school. I don't know what it was about. That was another thing. That was kind of my signal for you're taking your teacher hat off. I had to take that shower when I first came home. Whatever your routine is at night, grab a hot, a beverage, a warm beverage that you can drink that'll kind of let you de-stress. There's plenty of teas out there that you can drink. Whatever it is, listen to music. Don't take that opportunity to put on a really loud, action movie is what I'm saying. Now, some of you, just like me, have a hard time turning your screens off. Listen, I get it. On most devices now, there is a function for you to turn the screen brightness way, way down. Okay? Turn the screen brightness way, way down. Because I don't know about you, but I love to scroll through TikTok. And that is my brain decompress. But I set a timer on my phone. I turn the screen brightness way, way down. I turn the volume down. And then I will kind of scroll through and I give myself only 7 minutes. I don't know why I picked 7, but I picked 7. Only 7 minutes to scroll through TikTok. Then I will turn it off. And oftentimes I will put on light music or I will put on white noise, something that is going to kind of just let me decompress. Now, here's a tip that I got from my doctor, actually, and that is if you close your eyes, and because I deal with insomnia, if you close your eyes and in 15 minutes you're not asleep, go ahead and get up and go get a drink of water. Get up, go get a drink of water. Drink a big glass of water, and then come lay back down and try it again. I have had to do this so many times where I lay for 15 minutes. If I'm not asleep, I get up, go drink a big glass of water, and I come back and I lay back down. If I don't immediately, go to sleep in that next 15 minutes, which I usually do, then I will get up and I will usually go get another drink of water. I will maybe go to the bathroom, just a moment, just to give my brain time to reset, and then I will go back to bed. But just make sure when you do that you're not getting up and you're not going into the other room with bright lights and loud music or anything like that everything is calm and peaceful. But oftentimes, if you lay there and you're not going to sleep, your brain starts to run and you just need to get up. And just the act of getting up and getting out of bed and going and doing something else, your brain kind of switches off from whatever you were thinking about and worrying about and go back and try again. Just a tip I wanted to share with you. Now, I have a bonus tip for you, and this is something that I was really, really bad at in the beginning, but then I started getting better at it as I did it more. And it's actually one of the things that I do now if I don't fall asleep in that first 15 minutes. So if I don't fall asleep in that first 15 minutes, I get up, I get a drink of water, and I come back. If I haven't, if I'm still feeling like I'm not really sleepy, I keep a journal next to my bed. Journaling has been so awesome. I keep a journal next to my bed. I grab my journal, I grab my pen, and whatever it is that's on my mind that I'm thinking about, I just start writing. There's no form, there's no, fashion to it. There's no organization to it. I just start writing whatever is in my head because I need to get it out of my head. That's usually why I can't move on and I can't go to sleep. I need to get it out of my head. I'm afraid I'm going to forget about it. I need to do this tomorrow. I need to do this tomorrow. Whatever the case may be. But write it down really quickly in your journal. If there's something that's bothering you emotionally, make sure you write it down in your journal as well, because then you can come back and you can revisit it when you're not so tired. But keeping that journal next to your bed next to my bed, has been a game changer because now I don't forget things. When I come up with fabulous ideas for all of you rock stars, I don't forget them now. I used to think about them when I laid down to go to bed. I'd be like, oh, let me remember to write that down when I get up in the morning. Yeah, I wouldn't remember it because I was almost, I was tired. My brain is trying to shut off. I wouldn't remember it. I wouldn't remember it at all. But just write it down really quickly and then you don't forget it. And you can get it out of your brain so that you can finally go to sleep. Now, if you're looking for more tips, strategies, and simple systems to take back into your classroom to make your teacher life easier, check out the videos on your screen. Thanks for watching and keep being an educational rock star.